Welcome to Human Potential at Work, the show where we explore social impact, inclusion, and empowerment of everyone, including persons with disabilities. Get ready to be inspired, hear success stories, and learn tips and principles for bringing out the best in everyone.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. We are doing our last episode of 2020. That will actually be our first episode of 2021 today on New Year's Eve 2020. So I'm excited about my guest today. I have met her, actually met her mother, and then I learned about her younger brother, who I was so impressed with. And then I learned about her, and her name is Isis, and I'm gonna let her tell you more about herself. But I want to tell you the reason why I'm having her on this episode. One thing that I want to do better, and I think that I'm doing a good job of being an accomplice for other women and other diverse groups, not just an ally. I want to actually be an accomplice. So I want to give the microphone to Isis, for example, which we're going to do today. But I I want to do more interviews of talented women and other diverse groups that are making a difference in the world. And so there's so many things I love about this woman. I love that, she's a young African American woman that's owning who she is. I love her work, which we're going to talk about. She's in school. She's interested in politics. I think this is the face of the next generation of leaders. And I want to make sure that I am doing my part to make sure that people know about the work of people like this young woman that you're going to hear from. And so we're not going to just talk about disabilities. We're not going to talk about disabilities very much at all, but we're going to talk about it a little bit because, once again, that's just part of being human. We're diverse, and there's all these intersectionalities, representation matters, and the future. I want to make sure that we all know about amazing people like her. So let's let her talk about herself. So Isis, welcome to the program. I love that you have a measuring tape around your neck as an artist.
Always.
So let's start by telling people a little bit about who you are and but you're many different things, which I love. You're not just one thing. So who are you?
Okay, I'm an artist. I'm 20 years old and I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I'm currently a senior at Howard University in DC, even though we're online right now. I'm a major in political science and a minor in English. And yeah, that's the education side. But more than that, recently I've been an artist. I've been really into making jewelry, which includes waist beads, rings, anklets, necklaces, everything really. And along the journey, I've learned a lot about spirituality and about stones and energy and the power that everything has. And I just honestly really love what I do because it gives me a chance to kind of shine a light on something that really is ignored, which is the feeling of shame that we have with our bodies. That somehow we're going to have to attain, try and aim for a different thing, a different size, a different weight, a different anything. Like, you can't just be confident and happy in what you are, and that you have to feel some sort of shame. And a lot of women tend to feel shame around their midsections, particularly women who are overweight. Maybe you have scars, maybe you have stretch marks, maybe you're a mom, different things. But as women, that's just kind of part of the journey. So I love making waist beads and bringing attention to them because I love putting something beautiful on something that's already beautiful. And a lot of the things that my customers have told me is that they feel so much more confident and happy looking at their bodies when they have the jewelry on, just because it gives them a chance to really look at it. And my goal is that, that by the end, they really won't even need the jewelry to look at themselves and feel beautiful. Like, it'll be almost like training wheels to making you feel more comfortable showing your stomach, or maybe not showing your stomach, but overall being confident in your body. And so the function of waist beads, essentially, which are my main product, it's what I really specialize in, is they're beads and you tie them around your waist. And when you get bloated or gain a little bit of weight, anything like that, they'll rise up your waist. And if you lose weight or lose bloating, go to the bathroom, anything like that, then they'll drop. And they actually came from West Africa. And I learned mostly about them when I was at Howard, which is the #1 HBCU in the country right now. So I love that. But
Kamala Harris went to
Kamala,
Howard
yeah,
University.
she was
And so many other amazing, talented people. So it's a wonderful university.
Yeah. So that's a little splurge. Don't let me get too chatty.
Well, but I had never heard of voice beats. And so when you started telling me about your work, and I believe in all the energy and the spiritual, and I'm all about being kind and helping, and, you know, let's make the world a better place. And you and I've gotten into some really interesting conversations. You know, you're 20 years old, and I was telling you that I keep hearing, you know, 40 is the new 20, 60 is the new 40, all this ridiculous. And it always feels like something that we're saying to hurt other women, you know, because men don't say that. I don't hear men going, yay, well, 60 is the new 50 for a man. You don't ever hear men saying that. You only hear women saying that. And so what? And I, as a woman, I have fought with my weight my whole life. I also am a sexual abuse survivor. I was sexually abused twice by two different people, but I was sexually abused as a young woman at around 12, 13 years old. And what's interesting being sexually abused at that time is you're just trying to figure out who you are at that time, right? So it really messed with my head, but it caused me to gain weight. I gained weight because I didn't want men coming on to me. I really didn't. And every time I would lose weight, the attention would start. And I'm not saying I wasn't I'm not even going to go there about how beautiful it was a way, and I wasn't doing it consciously because I was so weight, but I did it because I was trying to protect myself. And so I love the story of the waist beads. I like that that you are celebrating the heritage of Africa. I love that you're celebrating women. I love that you yourself, you have a journey with weight and fighting with weight. And I'm hoping you'll talk about that. But, and then you start bringing in, you know, the disability aspect. And I look at my beautiful daughter, Sarah, who has Down syndrome. And unfortunately with that syndrome, she has a tendency to gain weight more quickly. There's a lot of reasons why she would carry more weight on her body, but she got sick in 2018 with blood clot disorder. What was happening, the blood clots accumulated in her liver. And as it happened, it caused damage to her bowels, her intestines and her bowels. She actually had to have small bowel surgery. But what would happen is her intestines, her bowels would keep backing up. And so we would rush to the hospital, God bless the hospital, and they would then make her fast for like 7 days because you had to just let the body rest. And this happened to her over and over and over again. Well, that messes up your metabolism. So she's actually gained more weight. And everybody around her is always saying, you need to lose weight, you need to lose. And I think that we need to stop hurting each other as women. We need to stop this. And so your work really spoke to me, and I actually bought her the waist beads, and I bought me waist beads. And it's something that so many women deal with. And so I said to you, well, should I be wearing waist beads as a Caucasian woman? I'm a white woman. So I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay. So I actually get asked this question a lot. Waist beads definitely do have heritage in Africa. They were created for African women. But the thing about as time moves on and the African diaspora is we move to so many different places around so many different people. And so we intermingle our culture with other people's. And so, like I said, I get asked this question a lot. And I think the answer to it is that all women can wear waist beads, but the important thing to keep in mind is that it is from another culture. Because when you have issues like Kim Kardashian wearing box braids and calling them boxer braids and kind of just erasing this entire history before it, that's where we really have issues with cultural appropriation. But to have the purpose of something like a waist bead just to experience it for yourself, that's fine. You just need to be aware and be conscious that it is from another culture and be appreciative. And it's also, it's very supportive, especially when you're buying waist beads from me or any other African retailer. You're supporting that community. So we don't want to push anyone away. So yeah, like I think everyone can wear them. And I also have other products. I make necklaces, I make waist beads, I make rings, I make lots of things, not just for women of older cultures, but some Black women don't necessarily like wearing waist beads, and that's okay. And that's fine. But there's definitely other spirituality in my other pieces. I actually have my little magic box with me that just has all my stones. Yes, it just has all my stones. So my necklaces have stones on them. I put stones on my waist beads sometimes. I charge everything that I make, the anklets, the rings, everything like that, in sunlight, moonlight. And I definitely instruct my customers on my website on how to charge their stones for themselves. And a big component of that is speaking your affirmations. And it's just so much to learn about. And I think waist beads and jewelry is a cool way to kind of enter that arena, because you get to physically wear it and you learn a little bit more about it every day. You get more comfortable with it every day. I love it. I love what I do.
I know it. And I love what a complex woman you are. I love the complexity. And I love the beads. I also like that you are identifying as Isis, which is just such a powerful feminine, goddess to the world. And I was listening to a 2021 overview from somebody that I really follow. And they were saying spirituality is going to come back in a gigantic way in 2021. And I am very spiritual, and I really believe that we're part of an intelligent universe. I'm sure I'm always trying to expand, what I'm doing and to understand. But I want to talk a little bit about the cultural appropriation and just making sure, because I know that this topic has come up a lot in the conversations that I'm having. And I told you a story, and I'm not going to tell the whole story on here because I don't want to embarrass this store, but there was a store that was selling it would appear to be indigenous things. It looked like it was made by American Indians or indigenous people here in the United States, but it wasn't. They had gotten it real cheap from somebody else, which happens. And I, as a consumer, I want to support small businesses. I want to support, which is why I bought Christmas presents for my loved ones from you, because I want to support. But sometimes you don't really know who it is that you're really supporting, because I actually bought something else for Christmas and got it today. Well, I got it super late, and then they told me where, because it is not what I ordered at all, and it was a month late coming. And then I want to return it, and they told me where I have to return it to. And I realized that I definitely was not dealing with a small. See, it's like we as consumers have to take the time to educate ourselves to make sure that if I think I'm buying from a small independent, company like yours, that you are who you are, who I think you are.
Yeah.
So I think that's an opportunity there. But I think we're trying to understand as society now, how can I use waist beads as a white woman and honor the African women that created these waist beads, and they thought it was a more loving way to take care of their body. Now, how I can do it is by introducing you and letting you tell the story. So there's ways that I can do it, and I can enjoy it and use it to honor my own body, but to honor you and to honor my sisters, my other sisters all over the world. But often you have something like this. I remember someone in my family actually worked for the store, and they said, I do not feel comfortable selling this. This is not authentic. And the customers would actually be willing to spend more money to buy something that's really authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid, and when people say to me, is this really made by Indigenous people? The store owner told her to say yes, and she wouldn't do it. She said, no, I'm not going to do it. It's lying. I'm not going to do it. And she actually wound up leaving over this because it just got really, and so I was just wondering from your perspective, if you just wouldn't mind exploring that topic a little bit more, because we are all trying to wake up, but it's
Yeah.
confusing. It is confusing to know how to honor it in a way that you don't accidentally step all over it. Oh, good. The white people know about it now. You're just going to step all over, which, by the way, unfortunately, that's happened so many, many, many times. And it's not just about white people. I mean, so anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Just to speak to that a bit, I feel like it's very important to pay attention to who you're getting things from. Like you said, if you're gonna get waist beads, get them from a Black person, get them from an African American, get them from an African person, have them tell you where it's from. Because as who we are, we have roots to that thing. We have ties to that thing. Someone who is not African or does not have any ties to Africa, they would not really have any connection to this thing. Not like we do, at least. And a big component of that is also that Black people didn't always get to celebrate our cultures, like our waist beads. We didn't always get to show them off because they might have been seen as tribal or anything else. And people would label you for showing off your culture. And, like I've had people comment on my post and be like, who cares? What does this mean? Like, this doesn't. And I mean, like, if that's your perspective, okay, but you have to pay attention to where these things come from. And a big part of waist beads is paying attention to divinity and femininity and your energy and your body, because your body really is your vessel for your energy. So you want to pay close attention to what, you're putting in it and what you're putting out of it. And a big thing is, for me, I really liked waist beads because I struggled with my weight my entire life. I was an obese child. And then I lost a good amount of weight in 2017. And ever since then, I've just been kind of teeter-tottering, not really feeling, I don't know, like not really used to being in my body yet. And I feel like a lot of women have that experience when they're trying to lose weight, gain weight, whatever, just change their bodies. So I started wearing waist beads because I'm very tall. I'm 5'10". And so the scale is always going to show me a big number because I'm tall. I have weight on me. And that would make me so self-conscious when I would put myself against my peers who maybe max out at 140, like I felt like, I was masculine or I was something else, but that's not at all what that is. It's just your body. And so I would feel shame about stepping on a scale, and that would really make me just not do it. And that's how you gain weight and, lose control of your body, when you stop paying attention to it, when you cover it, when you just, when you cloak it and you try and dissociate from your body. So what my waist beads do is, for me, I can track my weight without having to step on a scale, because that's something that personally I just don't like doing. I've never liked doing it. And I know a lot of other women don't like doing it for different reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I can look in my mirror and based on where my beads are sitting, I know kind of what's going on. Like, dang, I shouldn't have ate that second plate of pasta. But I also, it's cool. I don't have to step on a scale and, make myself a number. I don't have to do that anymore. And that's, like that feeling of shame and that feeling of, not 100% wanting to be in your body. That's not just with Black women. That's with women. That's with all women. And I think that's where, I definitely encourage all women to try waist beads, because the issues that they were based on aren't just for Black women, they're for everyone. Right. But the most important part of that is just to keep in mind that it was made by a Black woman.
It was. And it's a beautiful way to love your body. And people might say, who cares? But what they don't understand is the complexity of it. And that's what you are doing. It's complex. I mean, once again, who knew? It's very, very common when you're sexually abused to gain a lot of weight and surround yourself with weight so that you will not get hit on. Because it would scare me. It's really weird right now. I'm actually have been hit on, which I'm amused by because I'm 60. But anyway, two different men, and they're both married, and they assume because my husband is walking this really chilling, journey with dementia, that I don't know what they're thinking. It's like
Threads
my
or
husband's
something.
still here, right? Yeah, like like it's not hard enough anyway. But
Yeah.
I actually talked to Doug Forrest about this, who's a counselor, and I said, am I doing something wrong? Because what do we do as women? We are immediately going to think it must be me.
Yeah, all the
It
time.
was, I would, because I used to get in trouble all the time as a younger woman when I would be nice to men. There was someone that just didn't understand that you can be nice to them and not want to go and, have sex with them.
Yeah.
And so that always confused me, because I will be nice to women, and women, even women that are gay, they're not. So I never understood that part of it. But yeah, and Doug said in the background, because he's always, taking care of us, it is awful and it is a problem and need to solve, because I want to be kind to you and nice to you, even if you're a man. But anyway, so I just think that the power behind your jewelry is what spoke to me, really, really spoke to me, and why I wanted to support you. And I know you appreciate me supporting you. I know you do. But I also want to talk a little bit about you being a young entrepreneur and a young Black entrepreneur
Yeah.
as a woman. Because I will just tell you this, that when I was starting my last company, when I was doing my last company, Tech Access, and my companies always struggle with money and cash flow, because a lot of people haven't wanted to pay for our services, even though our services are extremely valuable, extremely valuable. And now the market's starting to understand that. But in the old world, before we started waking up, people didn't want to pay for social good or social impact. And why should I buy your beads, Isis, if I can go and get them? Even though I think your prices are too low. Personally, I think you need to raise your prices. I really do, because your products are beautiful. I mean, I'm so excited. I got them and I thought, oh, I obviously didn't order enough, which will get me in trouble too. But I do want to talk about this a little bit from the lens of, why do you think, I just wanted to finish that one story, in that this man told me that if I did not have a white male CEO running my company in Virginia, I would never be successful. And
Yeah,
yeah,
wow.
I know this still happens. Right. We know this still happens. And I, honor him for, anyway, he absolutely was wrong. But
Absolutely.
he was absolutely wrong. But once again, this isn't about bashing men. I love men. But it's about us all learning how to be in this world, and appreciate what others are doing. Like I'm so excited to put my waist beads on that I have just unpacked. But I actually want to do it in a certain sequence, because I want to honor you and I want to show me doing it. So how can we honor each other? It sort of is always a goal. But I was hoping you might want to talk about why, when you were going to school, and I love that your majors in English and political science, and you're an entrepreneur too. So I was just wondering if you would just talk about, why do you think that's important to be an entrepreneur as a woman that's Black?
I think it's important because you create roles for other women. See, for me, I'm very liberal in terms of, I'm very pro women. Anything women really need to thrive, whether it be, healthcare or menstrual items, anything pro women, I'm very positive for. And that's not very common in a corporate setting. You really wouldn't talk about women's empowerment if you're working in a regular, like a regular bank or anything like that. So what I get to do is I get to broadcast these views without being concerned that I'm going to lose my job or that I'm not representing my company correctly, because I am the company. Like, it's just me, and it gives me a chance to be able to talk about who I am and what I believe in, show off other feelings, because, you know, like you said, it's just now becoming a thing to become woke and pay attention and all of these things. And so now that to an extent we do have more of a voice than we did 20, 30, 40 years ago, that it's very important to bring up these issues, particularly about intersectionality. And so a big thing for me is I have brand ambassadors who are a wide range of women. They're all Black right now because that is, you know, that's the culture, but they're such different women and they're all in different places and they use their jewelry for different things. One of them is about to get married, so she's in a different place than my other one, who is an artist and she's just kind of seeing how things go, and another one who's a corporate woman, and you know, like they're just all in different places and they have different Black women's issues and different women's issues. And so being an entrepreneur kind of gave me a chance to like foster this environment where, while still being successful, while still making money, while still, you know, doing what we need to do in handling business, we can also talk about who we are and what we believe, and, you know, incorporate that into my business. Just giving other women a voice, which I think is the most important thing, because you really don't see the full picture of womanhood until you talk to each and every woman and see their experience. And like you said, having issues with sexual assault, that is so common, more common than we ever want to talk about.
And sadly for men too. Sadly for men are sexually abused as well.
And for men as well. Like, it's definitely something that we don't get to talk about. So with my business, where my focus really lies in energy and your body consciousness and stuff like that, I get to talk about issues about your body. So your weight, your sexual past, your energies, what you're carrying. If you have a disability where you may be less likely to want to show off your waist, anything like that. I make waist beads from a size 0 to a size 20. So if you're in there, I got you. And that's a big portion of women, because a lot of the time the waist beads will stop at like 36 inches. I'm bigger than 36 inches. That's just not, you know what I'm saying? You have to give it a chance for the bigger women. And then also for slimmer women, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's such a big range of women and so many issues that we all have. So being able to tie that into my business and my entrepreneurship is a blessing.
And I think y'all can see why I had her on the show. My goodness. I get so hopeful talking to people like her. This is our future. This is so exciting to have this brilliant woman here. So, and I've been being told the spiritual leaders and it's interesting to me that the spiritual leaders I follow have actually shifted during 2020, which I'm surprised by, but everybody that I do listen to are constantly saying it's about self-care, 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 self-care. And I agree, making sure we're drinking water, making sure we're honoring ourselves. And I'm with you. I hate getting on the scale, but I'm excited about my waist beads because I finally did lose weight. I finally lost 60 pounds and kept it off. I've had it off for years. And both of the people that did sexually abuse me have passed over. And I often thought, is that why? But one thing I hated about was that I took from them when they sexually abused me, I took it then from them then, and I started abusing myself by carrying all that weight to protect myself, instead of saying to men, get away from me.
It's my body.
Do not tell me how. Yeah, but I didn't. I tried to become invisible instead. And that's so sad. We don't want you to be invisible. We don't want anybody to be invisible. And so it's a hard time for us to figure out how to be woke up. I remember when all this horror was going on, which is, you know, still going on, where we're murdering Black people on the streets, going to my Black friends and saying, I had multiple of them, Lamondre, Heather, multiple of them say, Debra, I do want to help you. I want to help you. But right now I'm like working on it myself. I have to get it. I have to process it. And then I'm going to come and help you, my beautiful, darling white friend. But right now I got to get it right in my head. But I had multiple people tell me that. So I thought, all right. So it's like, that's how new I think this is to the world and how important it is.
I remember when the protests were happening. I started my business in March when I got sent home from school for COVID. I was bored in my house and I was playing around with stuff.
Congratulations. You're so successful so quickly.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Right.
But yeah, when I was a kid, I would make little trinkets and jewelry and stuff, but nothing to this magnitude. But yeah, when I came home, that was around the time that all of the riots were happening and the tearing down monuments and all of these things. And I remember just feeling kind of stuck in the middle of it because on one hand, I am Black. I'm a woman. I have a Black father. I have a Black brother. I 100% feel their rage and I understand. But the other component is seeing from a logistical point of view, these businesses that are being torn down. And as a small business owner, I feel for them, particularly when there are not even just Black, but all people of color who are struggling in a disenfranchised society to make this business that is getting torn down. And I think that just broke my heart. But a big thing that I got to do with my business at that time was I was doing some anklet giveaways for these really cute anklets. They were Black and white and red, and there was an Africa charm on them. And they were actually in support of Breonna Taylor, who passed away. And essentially, I just needed my followers to go and sign the petition for her murderers to be incarcerated. Unfortunately, that's not how it played out. But
Right.
It was really great because I had a platform and I had something that people wanted so that they could, engage in these conversations. And that's what was really cool is creating the conversations because it's almost like something happens, someone passes away, we get angry for like 48 hours, then just it passes and we accept it. But what was really interesting about this time is we didn't just let it pass. We felt it and we got all the way through it and we had our allies there to support us. And that was not very common back in 2015, back 2016 even. It really wasn't. But now, you have every big corporation with some Black Lives Matter thing. And, there's multiple sides to that, but it definitely was an interesting time to be starting my business because there was so much about Blackness that was in the media and about how beautiful we are and that we're getting killed.
You are beautiful. You are beautiful. It's why we persecute people because of the color of their skin is so ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Or who you love, or because you look different, or what? Stop it.
So many of us have had weird experiences with not even feeling at home here. Like going
there, right? So you're like,
really
are you at home in Africa or are you at home in the US? But
because for me personally, when I went to Howard, which is an HBCU, I'm surrounded by mostly Black people, and we all just have such different experiences. But as a whole, unless your parents traveled in like the 80s or the 70s, whatever, unless you have closer ties to Africa, we just feel kind of so suspended because, we live in this country that does not appreciate us and does not see us as people and does not, or over sexualizes us or makes us seem violent, like we're in this space that doesn't really understand us. But if we go back, for me, I couldn't even tell you where my ancestors, where their country was. I couldn't tell you. I would just have to walk around and kind of see. Like, no, you don't know. So it's not even like I wouldn't even know, like, oh, if I go back to Libya, I know I have family here. I don't know that. I don't know any of that because so much of, our ancestry was erased during, the slave trade and everything like that. So, like you go back, you don't have the same heritage, the same language, the same dialect, anything like that. As, your African brothers and sisters, you just don't really have that. So I really did appreciate getting to see Black people's feelings in the media because it really is just a feeling of so much suspension, like just kind of being stuck and not really having any real place to be.
That's so powerful. And of course, I can't really relate to that. Right. I mean, I can't, but it was interesting to me. I have traveled to Africa multiple times. And I noticed that when I went to Kenya, into Nairobi, I just noticed something that I don't notice in other countries. I've been to many other countries. Every single time I went into a situation where I went into a restaurant or there was going to be a bill due, the bill was always brought to me as the only white woman at the table. It was always brought to me. And that surprised me because I'm used to being in cultures where it's always brought to the man, right? But and I was trying to figure out why the white woman was getting the bill. And I think what it is that so many white women, I think it's the colonialization.
It's the intersectionality of it all that I just think is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's the same power dynamics, the way that, women and men may feel in America, that feeling like the man gets the check, but then, you go ahead and you get that very same situation in Africa and somehow you become the dominant one. Like you're used to being in America and then you get there and they think you're the breadwinner. And it's just very interesting. How being a woman really change your location, like being a woman, it means so many different things based on where you are.
Yeah, it was wild. And then they actually would hide me sometimes. There was this one time they were going into this store, and he said, okay, I want you to stay in the car, but I want you to sort of slink down a little bit. And I'm like, what? And he said, well, because of the color of your skin and you're a woman, you have a better chance of maybe being, kidnapped for ransom and stuff. So, in this particular place that I was, but which of course made me really freaked out, right? But I've been to other countries like that too. But it was all based on the color of my skin.
And I think that's really interesting because that's kind of where people get this concept that Africa is like this savage place, but like being a Black scholar and you go back and you learn, you say, okay, well, why are these communities like this? Why are they trying to kidnap and create crime? It's because they don't have jobs. It's because they don't have access to healthcare. They don't. And why did that happen? It happened because of white colonialization. It happened because at the end of the day, in the 1600s, they decided to carve up Africa and, try and extort it for every good it had. And now you have these people who are disenfranchised in their own countries because of white intervention in the 1600s, 1700s. And so that's why I think it's so unfair when people try and paint Africa in this savage light. But you're like, like Africa was so just, it was a place that Africa was thriving in colonialization. And so to look at it,
pillaged and
yes, and so to look at it as if the continent is just so dangerous. It's like, okay, we'll go back, see why these people are the way that they are,
and help, but don't help by rolling in and taking over.
No.
Like I'm helping right now. We're having a beautiful conversation, but I'm letting people know about your work. I'm helping you. So, and you're helping me by helping me honor myself and the women I love. And so it's very interesting, but those are a few examples that I've had of walking into different situations, but also I've visited the Middle East a lot. And as a woman traveling alone to the Middle East, you're also told these horrible things, but I have always been treated so wonderfully in these countries. In Kenya, the people are so kind. You won't find kinder people ever. And they are the ones that they're going to bring you home to. I had more people in Kenya invite me home to have dinner with them at their home than any other country. Usually you just meet people at restaurants. And by the way, I'm guilty of that too. And also I'm not the world's best cook. So you don't want to come to my house and be cook for you. Let me open the can. No, that's just not a gift I have. But the people were beautiful people, beautiful, beautiful. So anyway, I know that I'm almost out of time, but I want to ask you about your future. And I know that you and I are actually talking about you coming in supporting me with the work we're doing, while part-time, while you're going to school and running your business. But English, I think, is a very interesting major and a powerful major. But I thought it was fascinating how you're thinking about that major in the international field, because I know that you're very involved in politics, wanting to be political, wanting to be international, wanting to change the world. You're already doing it, but can we just explore a little bit about your future? And then the last question is going to be, I want to make sure people know how to find you on social media. And I actually am becoming one of her influencers too, because because I really, really believe in her work. So, all right. So let me turn it back over to you.
So I went into having a political science major and an English minor because I was really interested in how legislation and laws were written. Typically, that side of legislation is written from a white point of view. Even if you may have white female legislators, they still have a white point of view. A lot of the people who are writing legislation, who have control over it, really don't reflect the American population. There's so many Black and brown people, there's so many women, there's so many non-binary people, there's so many people who don't really have their issues explored and have them written for, particularly if you think about everyone has a different stance on it, but some women are very pro-life, some women are very pro-choice, some women are, you know, there's so many things about this, but when you think about who's writing that legislation, it's not women. It's not women at all. It's not even
diverse.
It's
right.
not
It's not diverse.
childbearing age. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, people who are so pushed back from the topic that they're just not even on the same wavelength. So I'm really interested in English and in legislation, how politics and things work, because the English language as itself, it's written real jargony in legislation. It's written real, it's very difficult to understand sometimes. And when you have people who either didn't grow up speaking very proper English, or you have people who didn't grow up speaking English at all, it makes it even harder to decipher and understand what these laws mean for you. Like, the typical American does not really go and read the legislation that passes. That's not what happens. But these things and the little ways that things are worded can be changed so that they can affect you. If you're in a court of law and you really don't even understand what this law is saying, you really can't defend yourself from it. So I just think it's so important to have people like me who have a different experience in legislation and in writing legislation, because there's a different perspective that needs to be seen. We talk about intersectionality all the time, but we have, you know, it's really kind of monotonous when you look at who's really writing these.
I agree. Most people don't realize. They just don't realize.
And they're so detached from reality and what things really are. Like, even if you think about the stimulus right now, you know, like people saying that $600 or $1,200 is just fine to pay, but then you look at the statistics and you can't pay any sort of rent with that money in any of the 50 states. So you have people who are just literally so detached, who are writing this legislation, who have roles in it, and it doesn't make sense. So I hope that when I'm finished, that I do have the capacity to completely understand legislation and to be coded and be able to explain it to my peers so that they know how to defend themselves if they get pulled over, if they get, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to understand what's governing you, and so many of us don't.
So do you think that you have a political future possibly ahead for you?
I think that everything I do in terms of like my business it is politically charged. I am very liberal. I couldn't see myself in like a senator position. I just don't think I fit that. But I would love to be behind the scenes of it. I would love to be helping write the legislation or in the lobbying groups. I would love to be doing some behind the scenes political work. And that's why I was so hurt that they took us, well, not they took us, but because of Corona, we had to leave DC. And I remember when I chose Howard, I was like, I can't wait to be on Capitol Hill and doing all the internships. Yes. And literally left before I had the opportunity. So yeah, I do hope that I'll be able to be back.
We got your back. We got your back. So, all right. I know that we went over a little bit, but I don't care because I love the conversation. But I want you to tell the audience what your website is and your social media.
Okay. So my business is called Waist Beads by Isis. Waist as in your waist. So WAIST Beads by Isis. It's pretty long, so I can write it out if you need me to.
Well, what we'll do, we'll provide the links. We'll provide the links with the episode.
So my Instagram is just Waist Beads by Isis. My email is waistbeadsbyisis@gmail, and my website is waistbeadsbyisis.com. Oh, and my Twitter is just Beads by Isis. Yeah, but I have I have different links, and I'm a night owl. I'm always up at night. So if anyone wants to chit chat at night, that's my prime time. That's usually when I get back to people for customer service and stuff. They're probably like, "Why are you emailing me about my order at 11:30?" But that's when I'm up.
Entrepreneur. That's what we do. We are always working, but
Yeah, always.
I'm so impressed with you. I'm so
Thank you.
impressed. And I wanted to make sure my audience knew about you. And I think we need to be more deliberate about helping each other. So
Yeah.
that's,
And I appreciate it. I really do. I really do. Because it's so hard. It's difficult getting the word out. It definitely is.
yeah. And I want people to understand a little bit more about who you are because I really am very impressed. So thank you so much for being on the show today. And we're going to continue to talk about this. You'll see I'm going to post for just because I love her work. So let's help each other. But Happy New Year. And thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. It was great.
You were wonderful. So, all right. Well, thank you to the audience, and please check out our website and buy some for beautiful jewelry. And if you have any ideas for jobs she can do, I think she's very, very talented. So, and don't be surprised if you see her as part of the Rue Global team, because I'm hoping she will definitely join us too. So, thanks everyone.
Alrighty.